Hi, I'm Leah McLaughlin with Skyline Community College, and
Hi, I'm Alana. I am the owner of Beauty Co. here in San Bruno, and I've been in the beauty industry for almost over 20 years.
we're here today to talk about how to really set up professional communication and manage your clients so that you have the best experience with them and they have the best experience with you, and thinking through in advance how you want to have your communication with your clients. Are people easy?
I mean, some are
Yeah,
difficult,
yeah,
but if you have a good communication plan, it makes your life a lot easier.
yeah. So it reduces potential conflicts.
Mhm.
It sets expectations for your clients. It creates positive communication and eventually a more successful business.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's jump into it. Why do we need to plan for client communication? As Alana said, some people are easy and are just going to be a breeze. Other people can be a little bit difficult, and you're going to end up in some challenging situations. So the first section of this workshop, we're going to go into something called policies. These are not legal aspects of your business, but they're basically guidelines or rules or other things that kind of set some boundaries for your business. We're going to explore why those are necessary. So we're going to run through a few scenarios. These are real scenarios that actually happen in the industry. And we're going to talk about how we can set some things up to reduce the potential for some of these scenarios. All right. So here's a scenario where Jack is a long-term client of yours who's known for often running a little late. And he shows up to his shave and haircut appointment, this time 30 minutes late. I am assuming this is an hour-long appointment. You realize you don't have enough time for both services, as this will make you late for other appointments. You explain this to him, but Jack refuses to listen and insists on getting both services done today. Is this unusual?
No, this is pretty common.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people come in, give you half the time, but still expect.
There are a lot of people who show up late and they expect to get the full service.
Yeah.
They don't understand you book out for a certain time because that's how much time you need.
Yeah. So let's talk through this a little bit. Alana, how would you handle this situation in the moment? He's being really obstinate. He's being difficult. He won't listen to reason.
Yeah. So if he's not willing to compromise with you and just do half a service, well, not half a service, but one or the other, and come back for another service, then I would just tell him, I can't take you. There's nothing I can do. I'm not going to ruin the rest of my client's experience just because he refused to,
Yeah.
for reasoning.
And I think that's great that you bring that up because you've got other clients coming in.
Yeah.
And if you start being late for them,
It's going to upset them. It's going to ruin their experience.
yeah. And you potentially lose those clients who are probably less difficult.
Yeah.
So better to sacrifice Jack. And how do you think you might have contributed to this current situation even happening?
Well, it sounds like you're constantly letting this person be late and you're not doing anything about it. So you should communicate from day one. That's not okay. And if they're constantly late, there should be a circumstance, like not a circumstance, a
Consequence. Yes. So let's talk about that. What could you do moving forward with other clients? We've kind of already decided we're going to sacrifice Jack as a client. But we want to start being better professionals, and we want to change our practices so that we can prevent a situation like this in the future. And this gets back to setting policies. And often what happens is people start a business, they end up in situations like this, and then they start to put things in writing and being explicit about policies to reduce the situation in the future. So if you can start to think through your own policies and set them in place before you even launch your business, you're going to come out better for it instead of having to learn the hard way and going through some negative experiences. But also this is going to evolve with time. You're going to learn and change your policies with time. But let's look at some ways that other businesses have dealt with this. So we have here a website. There's a lot of text on this website. I personally, if I was them, I would redo this a little bit because I find it a little bit hard to read. But here we have their book and appointment page, and they have a lot of information here. Again, I think it's a little bit overwhelming, all of the bold and capital usage, but they have some late cancellation policies, late arrival, and this is what we want to look at right here. If you're over 15 minutes late to an appointment, you may receive a lesser service for the same cost as the originally booked service, and will need to reschedule with the no-show fee, which is 50% of your service. Again, worded a little bit confusing. I would clean this up a little bit. No shows, they're going to be charged 50% of the service. And so they basically, you have to scroll through all of this though, which is what I think is really well done before you can click the button to book an appointment. So if you end up in that situation with Jack, you can refer him back to your booking page and say,
Yeah.
he may not have read it, but you can say, look, I have this in writing. You were supposed to read this. And I'm sorry if you didn't, but that is my policy.
Yeah, and it's right there, right before you click your appointment button. Yeah.
So just having something like that in writing. Let's look at what else. Here's another company. And again, in their menu of options straight up front, they have a cancellation policy, and they tell people how much they are going to get charged for cancellations less than 48 hours notice and cancellations less than 24-hour notices. So this is not a late fee. This is a cancellation fee, but it's falling into this late or cancellation that somebody isn't showing up for that full service, and you're not losing all of your money or even part of your money because of that. All right, let's go through another scenario. This time we have Veronica. She has a full set of lashes applied by you. At the end of the service, she isn't happy with the work and doesn't want to pay you for it. You ask her what you can fix to make her happy, to which she says she doesn't want anything else done. She says she's not going to pay for a bad service and walks out. The next day, you see that Veronica left you a 1-star review on Yelp. Again, is this uncommon or common?
Honestly, I feel like nowadays it's a little more common. And I hate to say this, but I feel like some people are trying to get away with a free service.
Yeah, that might be what's going on here. So let's talk through, again, what would you do in the moment in the situation? First of all, how do you respond to this review on Yelp?
So I would start off by apologizing that she wasn't happy with her service, and tell her I'd be happy to have her come back and we can fix anything that she didn't like. But again, point out that she did not pay for the service.
Yeah.
So she wasn't charged.
And so, yeah, you're going to get negative reviews on Yelp. And if you respond to them in a polite and professional way, and you otherwise have a bunch of great reviews on Yelp or
but if you point out that this person didn't pay and walked out, and she's the only bad review on there, it kind of makes her review look not that good. It's like, you didn't pay, so what are you complaining about?
Totally. You don't want to argue with the person.
You don't want to argue with the person, but you also want to be polite and tell them, hey, give them good customer service back. Tell them, hey, we're more than happy to fix whatever the problem was. But at the same time, if we're going to fix anything, you're going to pay for fixing it.
Yeah. And I love that you had the offer first and then pointed out that
Yeah.
she didn't even pay for the service. And do you take any other actions with Veronica?
Honestly, maybe reach out to her and get some feedback back from her. And maybe if you're not the owner and the owner of the business reaches out to her, maybe a different person, if she
Mhm.
interacts with someone else and
Yeah.
speaks to someone else in a different perspective. And just get some feedback from her. Like, why aren't you happy? What can we do to make it better? Would you rather see another tech? You know?
Great. And again, how can you change your policies or communication with clients to avoid the situation in the future? I think the big one is that you didn't get paid for your service.
And it wasn't that you offered to give her money back. It's
Yeah.
the fact that she didn't pay and she walked out.
So how can we deal with that, prevent something like that happening?
So I would say for a service like that, or a service that's over a certain amount, maybe make it a requirement that they have to pay prior to the service.
Yes, and there's a lot of software apps to help with your booking, and they can collect people's credit card information and charge for that service.
Or you can
in
even make
advance.
it like a deposit. So they pay half of the service as a deposit to reserve their
Exactly,
appointment.
and that's in our, we have a worksheet for you to go through and think through these different things, options, so. Let's look at what some other businesses do. So this one is a spa, and they have at their front of their page, they say, if you're not satisfied with our service, please let us know. We will help you out to the best of our ability. So that's straight up, they're making a customer promise and letting people know that they're happy to redo or work with them so that they're satisfied. And then again, if you get a bad review on Yelp, you can say, we do make this promise on our website. We
Mhm.
also offered at the point of service, and you didn't receive that from us. And then here's just an example of a great professional response to negative review. This looks like it was probably on Google Maps. The owner says, thank you, Kylie, for your feedback. So again, it's not combative or argumentative. We would love the opportunity to address your concerns. Here's how to call us. And it's just very polite. So just, but it is important to, yeah, respond to those. And overall, this person has a pretty good review score. So they're probably getting lots of good reviews. Responding to negative ones does show that you're a responsive business.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through another scenario. May comes to you for highlights and tells you she has never had any chemical on her hair in the past. However, you notice that the first few foils you put in start puffing up, and when you open them, her hair is melting off. Clearly, the product is reacting with some other product she's used. She starts to freak out and threatens to sue you. All right, how would you handle this situation at the moment?
Well, the first thing we do is take that product out of her hair. Because we don't want all her hair falling out.
Stop, no, don't go forward.
But maybe offer her some kind of treatment right after just to help strengthen that hair, rebond it, just because she obviously is going to have a lot of breakage. Just, you know, obviously she didn't tell you what is in her hair. And it kind of falls into, it's kind of her fault, but then you need to compensate for that.
Yeah. So let's explore this a little bit more. What do you have in terms of documents or insurance to protect yourself both legally and yeah, for this situation that's occurring?
Well, if she was going to sue you, this is why it's important for you to have insurance to protect yourself, and your insurance is going to cover you. So you're basically not really paying anything out of pocket.
Do not operate without business
Yes,
liability
it is
insurance.
very, very important.
You might feel like you're starting off and like, oh, it's a monthly expense I can't afford. You cannot afford to not have it because
Yeah.
situations like this will happen.
Yes. And this is why it's also important for a client, especially if they're doing a chemical service, to fill out a pre-service questionnaire. And if they don't state something on there, and obviously it had a reaction, or they did put something on there and if there's a reaction, then you kind of have document proof of what's going on.
Yeah, so we're gonna go straight into an example of this. So this is a barber shop that also does some skin treatments. And these treatments are a little, there's possibility for reactions, etc. And so they actually have embedded in their website what they call a client profile card. And they actually, in addition to just regular information, they are asking them for medical information. So health problems, medications, vitamins, supplements, allergies, and other conditions that might create problems for this service. And again, so in the scenario that we had, you just asked your client verbally, she said no, and then a reaction happened, she could sue you if you have this documented, either digitally or on a physical piece of paper, then you can have that be like, hey, look, I asked her for this information.
Yeah. And then if it comes back later, like she's on certain medications or she did certain things with her hair, then you have paper proof. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you said no.
And it's not like a verbal, oh, I did say this, I
Yeah.
didn't say that.
Verbal doesn't really hold up in court.
Yeah. All right. So one more scenario to go through, and then we're gonna take a little break. Jennifer is a pretty new client to your spa and so far has received facials and waxing services. With each visit, she has asked to have touch-ups and redos, in addition to being quite fussy during the appointments about how you are performing these services. It seems like she is really hard to please, yet she keeps coming back to you a few times for repeat services. Now, however, she wants to book you for permanent makeup. You feel nervous about doing something for her that can't be changed given her fussy nature so far. Do you book her for this service?
Nope. That is permanent. You know she's not going to be happy or she's going to find something that there's a no.
Yeah.
I would not take her.
Yes.
That's a red flag all over it.
Yeah. And really, like, you need to listen to your own reactions, your own gut. A former mentor of mine call it like listening to the little voice. In this case, they might be alarm bells sounding. Do not book her for the service. How do you communicate to Jennifer your decision to not do the service for her?
So I would tell her that I do not feel comfortable performing the service on her. And I would also give her some other texts that I would recommend or other salons that she can go to. But honestly, like we said, if you don't feel comfortable doing something, just communicate that to her.
Yeah.
Be straightforward with her and tell her I'm not comfortable.
And experienced business owners, this is what I've heard from folks, is they just say, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm the right fit for you.
Yes.
It seems like, you know, there's been several issues in past services that I've given you. And so I just don't think I can give you the best service for this. Also, the fact that it's permanent,
yes,
that we haven't been the perfect fit for each other so far makes me feel like this is not really the best decision, and refer that person to someone else in the industry.
Yeah.
We do have that class on how to build your clientele and how to do so in an ethical way when you're working for other people. This isn't exactly why, is sometimes people feel like, not necessarily always for something this extreme, but they feel like, oh, I don't do the best service for X, Y, or Z. And people do pass clients around in this industry. So staying in and do watch that video and learn how to, you know, if you leave a place of employment to launch your own business, to do so in the best way possible, so that yeah, people can refer, you can have that great network where people refer clients around to each other. So let's talk about policies to put in place to limit a fussy client's demands to redo services. So earlier we looked at that business that just had an open policy, like, hey, we'll work with you.
Yeah,
Is that always the best approach?
not always, especially if it's permanent makeup. You should definitely have a different policy with that. And I mean, permanent makeup, you're also gonna have them sign a waiver, but.
Yeah. So let's look at another way to have sort of a fix-it policy. So this nail repair policy, they have a 3-day guarantee period. So they're not saying we're endlessly going to be open to redoing things. They also say limit the types of issues that they're going to address: application, chemistry, or product error. And anything else outside of that, or outside of that time period, is probably not going to be redone. So they're limiting the amount of time and also the parameters. And why might people do that?
Just so you don't have someone come back, let's say a month later and say, oh, I'm not happy with the service. And then that's basically them getting a free touch-up.
Yeah, exactly. So again, this is just about like setting boundaries, protecting yourself, and also it's really about inspiring the best behaviors of
Yes.
your clients. And as we mentioned, we do have this worksheet. It's in the comment section of this YouTube video, and we have a whole list of things to think through. And you just read through it and start clicking the boxes. We help you think through cancellation, lateness, and no-show policies, safety measures, service-related policies, mistakes, corrections, repercussions, and we try to make this as inclusive to cosmetology, barbering, and estheticians. There might be something that we didn't think about, but hopefully this gives you a really good start to thinking through your own policies. And that was a lot of information. So we encourage you to pause this training at this point and go explore that worksheet and come back. And we're going to have a little pause also, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we are back for the second part of this training, and that is creating an overall communication plan to have successful experiences with your clients. And so here we have this graphic that kind of just takes us through the main stages of points of communication that you're going to have with your clients. So there's a stage of attracting. This is also often people call this marketing. We have a whole other workshop on how to build your logo and your brand, and gets into how to create effective Instagram accounts, etc. So today we're just going to talk about the verbal portion of how you might want to talk about yourself really more effectively. We're going to go into some types of communication at the point of booking, and then preparing. What does preparing mean?
Basically preparing your client for the service. Whether it's telling them what they need to do, or what they need to bring, or what to expect.
Directions, how to get into your building. So
Yes.
different things like that.
It's just so they're not overwhelmed or late because they couldn't find the entrance.
Yeah.
You know?
Or how to prep them so that they come and you're able to give the best service to them that you possibly can. Then we're going to go a little bit into the point of actually communicating with your client while you're serving them. That could be a workshop all of its own. So we're mostly going to redirect you to another resource, and then how to do some follow-up communication after the service. All right, let's get into it. So at the attracting stage, I want to go over this difference between facts and value. And often what I see new business people, even existing business people, is that they state facts about themselves. And they think that they're communicating their full value, and that the full value is implied in the facts. But in reality, they're leaving out a lot that could help them better attract clients. So we're going to go over a few examples and talk about why you want to work on this. So let's go over a few examples of facts that people might state about themselves. I have 15 years experience. So if people have been in the industry for a while, they feel like that says something. Well, what is that experience? We'll talk about how to flesh that out a little bit more. I also talked to somebody who's planning on launching their barber business, and he said, "Oh, I do fades." Okay. And why am I going to choose you over somebody else? Or somebody might say like, "Oh, I have a background in art." Okay, but what does that do for me what do all of these things do for me as a client? I want to know, what am I getting from you? So what are some ways that we could express value? My 15 years in this industry means no matter what your hair type or desired outcome, I can help you meet your goals. What's the difference here, Alana?
I mean, the first one's very vague. And the other one goes into a lot more detail and it gives you a more understanding of what makes this person unique.
Yeah, and as a potential client, it spells it out for me what the 15 years experience means, and it gives me confidence in that person. Like, oh wow, okay, cool.
I mean, there's a lot of people with 15 years experience.
Yeah.
What makes you different the other one?
Exactly. So we're not making our clients do the work to figure out what these facts about ourselves mean for them. We're really spelling it out. All right. And then I do fades versus my specialty is elevated fades for the working professional. What do you think about this difference?
Well, one, I do fades. Literally every barber does fades.
Yeah.
So that makes you just blend in with every other guy. But for the working professional, that just stands out to me because it sounds like you are higher end and it's more tasteful cuts.
Totally. So you're giving a little bit more flavor to what your way of doing a fade might be.
Yeah.
And then I use my background in art to help you achieve a new and creative look. Why might this appeal to you?
I mean, it sounds like this person thinks outside the box and is a little bit more unique.
Yeah.
It's not going to just be your everyday standard hairstylist.
And not every hairstylist has a background in art. So that's, again, a way for them to differentiate themselves a little bit more.
Yeah.
And overall, what are we trying to achieve here?
You want to stand out. You want to show people how you are unique and how you're different than everybody else.
Exactly.
And highlight what your specialty is.
Yes. So the more that we can say something in a more exciting way that makes us catch people's attention, is going to help us. Like, yeah, everybody does fades. So why am I interested in getting a fade from you in particular? Let's go through a few more. I do curl cuts and color. I do wax services. I do facials. So again, you might meet somebody in the street and they say, "What do you do?" And you say, "This is what I do." Are you feeling excited to learn more?
Well, yeah, you're not really giving me much detail here.
Yeah. So let's see how we might rephrase some of these basic facts. As a curl specialist, I make sure your color goals work with your hair type and texture.
So this tells you that this person actually not only knows curly hair, but they specialize in it, and they know how to work with that hair and make it pop with that hair type.
Yes, exactly. And this is really building more, by giving a little bit more detail, you're building more trust and confidence with your client. Like, oh, wow, that little bit extra detail makes me know that they actually understand what the issue is here.
Yeah.
I combine my waxing services with customized post-service skincare products and instructions. Why might this inspire you to choose this person for waxing services out of the rest of the crowded field of waxers?
It seems more personalized. So it's going to change with each person.
Yes.
So I'm not just going to be at a wax center where it's in and out next person. This one's going to customize this service specifically for me and make sure that even when I leave, I'm taking care of my skin the proper way. And
Yeah.
so,
Exactly. And as successful professionals in this field, you will be competing with very cheap services that are out there.
yeah,
These places are in and out, and they're competing on price. And if you try to compete with them on price, it's a losing battle. So starting to differentiate yourself, having yourself stand out to something a little bit different is the way that, and communicating that effectively to your customers is the way to have them be interested in
Mhm.
booking with you and probably paying a little bit extra, but they're understanding what the full value is that they're going to get out of that
Yeah,
service.
rather than going to a place that's just like in and out and quick. I feel like those type of places a lot of time don't have repeat customers,
Mhm.
you know, and a place like this that specializes and customizes, you're more likely to have those repeat customers.
And again, we're really spelling out for our customers. This is why my price might be a little bit more elevated, et cetera. This is the full value that I am
Yes.
giving you. All right, and one more. I do facials and specialize in difficult to treat skin types using natural products. So really similar to the last one, we're just really expressing to people that we can do a little bit more. We're differentiating ourselves and we're targeting a certain audience, people who are interested in a certain type of product.
Yes.
And I don't know, anything else to say about this one?
I mean, the word natural was the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah.
Everybody's all about natural and clean. And, you know, if you just said I do facials, you know, that really doesn't mean anything to me. But the fact that you're describing what type of products you're using, what you specialize in, that's going to attract my attention more.
And even if I don't have difficult to treat skin, the fact that I know that you specialize in that makes me feel like, oh, this is a really knowledgeable person.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean only people that fall in that category are going to come to you, but it gives a sense of like, oh, this person really knows their stuff. They can handle anything. And I don't necessarily have that, but
if you can do difficult skin, you
Yeah.
can really do anything.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is pretty challenging to really think about how to talk about ourselves. We live in a society where you're not really supposed to promote yourself. What I recommend to people often is to go to a friend or a trusted colleague and say, what would you say about
Yeah, that's a good idea.
how would you talk about me to somebody else? Because I know for myself, I'm better at promoting other people than I am myself. So that colleague of yours might have they might even see something about you that really pops and you're not even noticing it.
Mhm.
So I would go and ask people that for help that you know, and just work on this. It's going to take some time, and we're here to help you. Okay, let's go back to the next stage. We're going to talk about some communication at the point of booking. And we have a whole worksheet to help you plan out these different points of communication. So that link is also in the comments or whatever, the section on YouTube where we can put extra information. And so here's a couple companies, as we mentioned before, there's software that really helps you choose different policies. We talked about this a little bit. These are three companies that business people that I've talked to recommend. They're happy with the way that these booking services operate. It's just going to really help you with the communication with your clients, streamline it, make it really easy and manageable.
They're very user friendly and it's so easy to just start an account with it. And it just takes you step by step to build your site. And if you need to, they also have like templates for policies and stuff.
Exactly. And so we encourage you to sign up for one of these services. And then just here's an example of after somebody has booked follow up. This is for a therapy service, but I just liked how they made it really user friendly. So there's like, here's our portal to just do anything. And then they just kind of politely give a cancellation policy, and then they give a link to reschedule, they give a link to cancel. So just make it really easy for people to do that. And not where they have to like hunt back through a website or something. And then they also just like, hey, if you just struggle with any of this, contact us. We're here to help you. They give a reminder of the time of the next appointment. And yeah, so this is just something you might want to think about is that follow-up communication to a booking. And we have some other things to work through. Then let's talk about preparing. So why might you want to prepare a client for an appointment?
It helps them.
We already talked about this.
already,
Yeah, we
yeah.
did. Okay, let's jump into it. Here's a couple of examples. So here's like a waiver form that you might want to have people sign again if you're doing anything like skin treatments or chemical applications. Any other types of services that require people want to have a waiver form for?
Really any kind of like chemical treatment, anything that you think is gonna have a reaction with the skin.
Yeah.
Or the hair.
Excellent. And then here's a great example of some instruction on how to prep for an appointment so that the client you can perform the best version of your services and the client can get the best results. So they just say, exfoliate to do 2 days before the appointment, moisturize, and also they give some explicit instructions on how far out the hair should, what length of hair should be. And what would happen if you don't tell your client these types of things and then they show up and you're not able to actually perform the service?
Then the client might leave upset because they didn't get the service that they booked out for.
They're probably juggling like work, family,
Yeah.
and like hard to even.
And they're excited. They're probably excited for this appointment. And you tell them, like, for example, you can't do the wax because your hair's not long enough. And they leave disappointed because they're looking forward to it. Or maybe they have a trip the next day and they're like, oh my God, now what am I going to do?
Yeah. So really educating your clients beforehand, if there's some specific things that they should do. You were mentioning something about like if you do a color service and whether clients wash their hair or not.
Yeah. So that's another thing. If you're a hairstylist, and let's say you're doing a chemical treatment or doing like color, and the person washes their hair the day of. Ideally, you don't want freshly cleaned hair. You want a little bit of a dirtier scalp just because then you have your natural oils that create a natural protection.
Yeah.
And so you're less likely to get like a chemical burn or reaction.
Yeah. So these are just things to think through. You want to prep your clients for that.
Yeah.
They probably don't know that. So
Yeah.
let them know. All right. Let's go into point of service. As I said earlier, this could be a whole workshop in of itself. So we don't want to go into great lengths, but I actually found a really great web page that takes you through a lot of the nuances of in-person client communication. So they have sort of like a really basic checklist, but then if you go to their site, I love it. They go into a lot of detail, and if you can see from this table of contents, they're going through a lot of content. So again, this would just be a whole other workshop for us. And I think this site does a great job of it. So we're just going to send you there, and the link is embedded in our client communication plan worksheet. So just go there and follow the link, and they'll help you really think through this section. All right. And last, we have following up to a service. And so let's look at a couple examples of that. Here's a follow-up email, just thanking people and having a button to leave a review. If you want people, you're starting out and you want to build up your Google Maps, your Yelp,
Mhm.
your social media, then providing people with links to either leave reviews or connect to your media accounts, etc., is a way to follow up. They also give, they're reminding the person when they book their next appointment, but you could have a button in that follow-up that helps person book that next appointment if they haven't already. And then this is not beauty industry, but I went to a cafe recently and I got this email afterwards, just saying thanks for visiting, and they gave me a 5% coupon. Why might somebody want to do this?
It's a nice little perk and it kind of helps get that return client.
Yeah.
We actually do that at the shop, and if a client hasn't been in for a certain amount of time, we'll send them out a coupon. And kind of like a little reminder, like, hey, we're still here. And here's
Yeah.
a little coupon because we haven't seen you in a while.
And it's a little incentive. It's not a lot off
Yeah,
of
but
the
it's
price of that
something.
service. Yeah. Might just be the little nudge that somebody needs.
And it also kind of gets that company back in your head,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. And it also just creates a positive reaction, like, oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah.
I feel even better about that experience.
Maybe I'll go get another coffee.
Yeah. Oh, last but not least is also customer service feedback surveys. Why might we want to do a survey?
It's important to get feedback because then you know the client's experience. And a lot of the time during the service or right after the service, you know, if it's a long service, they might just want to just get out of there. They're
Mhm.
over it, they're done. They want to, go on with their day. Or someone doesn't feel comfortable, bringing anything up in person.
Exactly.
So giving them that option to leave feedback, doing a survey, it makes you understand their experience better and what you can improve or what you're doing well. Also, if you don't want to do service, you could do a call, like especially if you feel like you had a new client and you're not sure how they felt about the service,
Mhm.
or if you had a client who left and you're like, they seemed kind of like they weren't really sure about their new color.
Yeah.
And if you just do a follow-up, check in on them. It's good customer service. They feel like you're thinking about them and you're concerned about them and that you care.
Those are all super great suggestions. And as an instructor, I do this also. You can't always tell in the moment how things are landing with somebody.
Mhm.
And as a professional, I'm always asking people for feedback. I've given people gift cards to come to like focus groups or answer surveys to get feedback. And I always frame it as, hey, can you help me make this better for the next person
Mhm.
or the next time that you come back? Especially if you're just coming out of school or recently out of school, just telling people like, hey, I'm new to this. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I really appreciate your feedback because that's going to help me be better at this. And we have a link to a little how-to of how to effectively do a customer feedback survey and some examples of how to do effective questions and how to, yeah, just do the best job with that, and where you can set up survey forms for free. And I love this intro to the survey. Thank you for trusting me with your beauty needs today. While I am in school, I'm working on honing my professional skills. Please fill out this quick survey to help me improve. When you really frame it like that, people feel more willing to, like, they want to help you out.
They want it kind of motivates them to leave an honest review.
Yeah. And you're really expressing to them like, hey, I really am wanting to learn and improve. People can tell when it's sort of, I don't actually want to hear it. I just want a positive review.
Yeah.
I want confirmation that I'm fine. So just really having that intro be very honest of that you're learning and growing and you actually want to put their feedback to use. Usually makes people feel very open to, yeah, giving that honest feedback. And it's a great way to just see, like, if you're trying things out, did this land the way that I thought? Maybe you make a change, like,
Mhm.
did that result in happier clients? How was their experience? Maybe you greet people in a different way and you want to see, hey, how was that for folks? You know,
Yeah.
it's just a good way to get a reality check on some of the ways that you're running your business.
Yep. Totally agree.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. And we're here to help you, especially if you're in the Skyline community. We have free consultations. So feel free to follow up with us to get help with this communication plan.
Yeah, we are here to help you and guide you on your journey.
All right. Good luck.